When you're called upon, you answer the call. Even men are getting raped, and it's been used as a weapon. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with people who made it out from Al-Fashir. They came and they were telling stories that are just, you cannot really fathom. Something happening, we all run from here together and stand shoulder to shoulder and try to help. That was actually on the original national anthem of Sudan. We are the sons of wars. That needs to stop.
Welcome to the interview series, How to Mobilize Change. My name is Telda Mawarire. And during the next 4 30-minute conversations, we will take a deep dive to hear the engaging stories of this year's Right Livelihood Laureates. It's my pleasure to welcome Alsanosi Adam from Emergency Response Rooms from Sudan.
Thank you.
Congratulations on winning the 2025 Right Livelihood Award.
Thank you so much.
What an incredible feat.
Thank you, and thanks to the foundation for this great honor, and yeah, happy to be here.
So much is happening in Sudan. You actually are the first laureate from Sudan to receive this Right Livelihood Award. Emergency Response Rooms is the backbone of Sudan's humanitarian response amid the war, the displacement, and the state collapse that has happened there. What does an award such as this mean for the work that you do?
This for us is an honor, but also a shield. It kind of shine the light on the work that the emergency response rooms are doing, the light on the sacrifices of 26,000 volunteers who go day in and day out providing services to people, risking their lives and putting their life at risk. But it's also a shield in a way that this recognition increases the protection, because our volunteers on the ground are often targeted by the warring fractions just because they are, kind of organizing and providing aid to their communities. So yeah, for us, in like a short sentence, this award is an honor and a shield, and we're honored by it.
I don't think it would be correct for me to proceed without acknowledging the current situation in Sudan and recent escalations in the war that already has claimed millions of lives and left so many people displaced and without food and shelter and in a really dire humanitarian situation. Some viewers who are watching us may not understand the full extent of the situation on the ground and what is happening in Sudan. Would you please take some time perhaps to explain the situation, how it is that we got here, and currently what is it that the people of Sudan are facing?
2023, a war started in the capital, center in Khartoum. And it's been ongoing to this day. We've seen over the 2.5, almost 3 years now, 25 million Sudanese internally displaced. We have seen like children, this is the 3rd year now without going to school, about 19,000 child. And we've seen the number of death within civilians is just always rising. We still don't have an actual number to how many people we've lost in Sudan in general, but we know that over 10 million refugees right now in the neighboring countries facing a horrible fate. We have seen those within also suffering from, cholera outbreaks that is just dropping people day in and day out, and they have nobody to kind of to support. Few interventions here and there. We have seen people, kind of dying from dengue fever. There is no Panadol, access to Panadol, to kind of help people even combat that. Through the years, at the beginning of the war, usually there was some stock of medication that people could access and buy, or the ERRs will buy pharmacies and provide this medication to people. Right now, if you saw the situation, pharmaceutical products are being sold on the street under direct sun, so already expired, horribly stored, and we've seen people getting chronically ill with diseases that are supposed to be curable if you take the medication. We could be taking medication, but it's ineffective. It's not working, and that's really across the country. It's the worst humanitarian crisis in living memory. I mean, there's a lot needed in there.
So in some of the methods of fighting and war, we see a rise and the use of rape as a weapon of war, and sexual assault against people. Can you talk to me a bit about this?
This is one of the major issues right now in Sudan, that women are raped, even children, and in most places even men are getting raped, and it's been used as a weapon to, I don't know why, but it's been used in the rape cases. We've seen children as old as like 8 years old getting cases of children being raped. We've seen even old women, like over 60, 70, they're also got raped. And I don't know. The stories that we hear and that came to us from the ground, like 2 weeks ago, I was sitting with people who made it out from Al Fashir. They came and they were telling stories that are just, you cannot really fathom. And they're telling like a systematic and historical account. It's not just Al Fashir, even before Al Fashir, even before this war, even during Jenena and all that, and how families would actually decide on sending the men out, because if you're as a man, usually they will rape your family in front of you. So as a man, you want to stop that, you get killed. So the families are making decisions of actually sending their boys and the men out, and then the women will stay and to survive this. So that's the level, like getting to decide between staying and dying or getting raped, and which one is so these are the levels of decisions people are making.
Someone said that the emergency response rooms is really unique. You can't destroy it, and that it's like water. You can't go and shut it down. It is the community, and it's everywhere.
Right.
Talk us through the very unique model of emergency response rooms.
The idea from the beginning was to, as this war started, like the second week of the war, we know that people, majority are from they're like working class, and in 2 weeks nobody has touched the food, nobody's ready for this war, nobody, so that we know from our neighborhood. So we have to now collect some money from diaspora, from those who are outside, and make sure that there is a place where people could go, sit, and like eat a meal together, even if it's a one meal a day, but it's also some like a mechanism of checking on one another. So like seeing your neighbor, seeing your friend, and seeing that, okay, people are fine. There was bombing yesterday on this area, everybody's okay. All that kind of community just coming together to try to survive this. Because when the war started, we were still thinking it's going to be a 2 week, 3 week, like a month max. But it's still ongoing. So from these gatherings, ideas will emerge. People sitting, and then they bring their kids with them, and they thought, well, maybe we can like have like a class for these kids to have a safe space. They can draw something. Maybe we teach them a thing or two, and then from these units came out the idea of the alternative education. A model was built. Teachers and experts engaged together, developed a model that is actually now is being, the piloting is done, and now we're kind of expanding it to across the country. The idea of protection, how can we protect one another? Because you're sitting there, somebody will be, authorities will come and snatch a person and take him somewhere, and you don't know why they took him and all that. How can we protect ourselves? And more ideas of capacity building and like how to have these emergency units that are just trying to solve everyday's problem. There's no water. There's water, but it's dirty. How can we clean it? There's no electricity. There is this, there's that. So it's like from that, all these services that we do right now within the emergency room kind of came out, and then all these structures that I mentioned right now, it's like, you have elected representatives and offices came out, and then it's mirrored across. So from one town, like each neighborhood is a unit, and then they have connection and to the locality. Then the localities are units of units. Then they have the connection to the national, to the state level. It's a unit of units of units. And then you have the national level. It's a unit of units of units of units. So it's decentralized. That's why it's like water. So you cannot, it's the community. Like, what can you do? There's no headquarters. There's no office that you will go and lock it. There's no like one way to kind of stop this. It's we've seen it in so many different places. If an entire ER got arrested, for example, it happened the case in Sudan state. There's like 21 volunteers all arrested together. 3 days later, new coordination kind of started until we kind of worked out, because one day people get arrested, they're like kind of burned, and then they have data. So they try to, we try to not kind of compromise the rest of the operation. So new units will come back to fill that gap. And then those people, when they get out, they usually get evacuated to safety. So yeah, it's a beautiful model of delivering aid, delivering dignified aid to the people on the ground. It's a beautiful space for civic engagement. People are learning from one another. We've seen talents rising every single day, new people, good on the council or good on this or on that. We have protection units that are actually getting trained to kind of work, across Sudan. But with the coordination getting bigger and bigger, it's also getting harder and harder, because there's so many different, units. We have over 700 emergency response rooms in 18 states, the total of 26,000 volunteers. So, and in counting, there are some areas that were not maybe touched by the war in one way or another, but the need is the need, because the war had also an impact on even the places that are not in war. So there's also a level of coordination there. They may not be doing emergency, they may not be doing, community kitchens, but they are doing they're helping the community in one way or another. Like recently in the northern state, we've built like a water a well, and then now it's actually people using that. So it's like we're doing recovery in some states, and we're doing emergency and life saving in others.
Thank you. It's an amazing model. I understand it borrows partly from the culture of Sudan, from something called nafir, which means rushing to. So I think I'm very interested in knowing, what is the concept that made this to come about? Is it from a cultural way of living? What do you think inspires this sort of working?
The concept of nafir is a concept of that when you called upon, you answer the call, kind of, without expectation for payment, without expectation for not even a thank you. It's like, hey guys, let's go. There's something happening. We all run from here together and stand shoulder to shoulder and try to help. Whether it's there's a fire you wanna put down, whether there's a disaster like flooding coming, where there's maybe somebody's harvest is ready, and we need to go help him harvest that. So it's like it's all, and it's rooted in the Sudanese culture, and it's everywhere. It has a different shape, but that's the concept. We come together for one. We're one for all, kind of concept. It's a beautiful thing, and then we've built this on that. Like the resistance committee is also built on that, and now this is like an evolution of like a tradition that's been there for generations. It's just we all come together to either help ourselves in case of disaster management, for example, or help one person.
I'm really interested to know, when an emergency response room is formed, does it have a leadership or it's just coordinated? How does this work? And also, what is the lifespan of an emergency response room? Does it eventually dissolve? How does that work?
The decision making is happening on the grassroots level. So we have a system that's called the F system. It's a accountability system that also like an SOPs, accountability and SOPs, like standard operating procedures for the ERRs. So the F1, which is the first form, it's a need assessment form that replaces the application, the technical and financial proposal. So it's one form that replaces those. And then that is done by the unit on the ground. So they decide what they want to do, how they want to do it, how they want to spend on it, and all that. Then, for example, they wanted to do a communal kitchen. But if the circumstances change, the power is in their hand to change that like instantly. So they want to do communal kitchen, they got the funding, then their neighborhood turned into a front line. They need to evacuate people, so they make the decision, they use that fund to evacuate people. Or maybe dengue fever, they need to respond to, they use that. Or like a cholera outbreak or something. So they have the F4 and 5, which is the narrative and the financial report to kind of justify what happened. They say, well, initially this was the plan, but right now, this is what we've done with the fund, and this one worked. This is what worked well. This is what did not work well. And we aggregate the learning from these forms, and it's always the advocacy is always flexible funding. Flexible, that means the units on the ground that could do according to the circumstances. So we don't have to, because the waiting time usually when you're working with organizations and traditional aid donors is that the waiting time to amend something, usually you lose people. Like by the time you get the okay, yes, you can evacuate them, you don't have anybody to evacuate. People either die or that. So it's so that's why the power is always on the ground on these small units. Yeah.
Leadership, how does that work in the unit?
All right. So they as explained it earlier, they elect leaders. So for me, from my base ERs, I've always been in communication. So when there is a need for communication within the locality, my name was sent to the locality. Then when there's a need maybe for more support in the state level, my name was sent to the state level, and then now in the LCC. So you go from down. Representatives, they serve 4 months. And these are the reps who are, you can think of them as the city council or a legislature or a parliament. Elected, the people trust you, that you speak on their behalf, that you will get, their demand and their stories across, and you get elected. You serve 2 months, they give you maybe, if they want you to serve again, they can elect you again for another 2 months, and then 4 months you're done, somebody else will come. The offices is by merit. It's like you think of the offices as like ministries or directories. So if you're good in communication, you're in communication. If you're a doctor, you're in the medical team. If you're a medical office, and so on and so forth, according to the merit, according to the services people are trying to do within your state or within your locality or within your base ER.
I just want to find out how you work around funding, especially how you differ from international aid organizations, if you have central funding, and how you work around that.
We differ in one key aspect, is that 99.9% of any funding is on the ground. So that one stray one, that's actually transaction fee. When you send it through a Huala, or you send it through, because sometimes they take a transaction fee. But whatever you send is going to the ground. So the whole response is volunteer based. So nobody gets paid, nobody gets stipend, nobody gets anything. ERs on the ground sometimes allocate funding for communication, and usually it's Starlinks. We get Starlinks, and they pay for those, for the Starlinks. There's like transportation of the food and all that, but the whole response is in volunteer mode. That, like, the value of any donation or any fund that goes, it goes straight to the ground. Like $3, it goes straight. It means 3 meals, 5, and so on and so forth. Yeah. States right now are working on what would it mean for the state to operate even when the funding stops. So next year, all the budgets, all the funding we would raise will go towards this recovery, development / emergency responses in the states, and then they try to figure out a way to stay providing services even if the funding stops, because we don't know after next year what will happen. We've seen in Europe, and we've seen in like the UK, we've seen how there's budget cuts, and we've seen how people are moving a little bit away from humanitarian to our defense and all that. So that will affect operations on the ground. The traditional humanitarian aid on its current shape need to change. It needs to rethink and to unlearn and to redesign so that it's impactful and we're not wasting all these funds on accounting for little funds. Like, we're wasting a lot of money to account for really small money, so we need to flip it. More needs to, if you want to solve the problem, you work on solving the problem. More needs to go to the ground. So you can see actual impact rather than a system that is thinking about its own survival and how it stays in business and how, thinking about next year's budget rather than solving today's problem.
Yeah. Throughout the world, we see some other conflicts have attracted a lot of attention, sustained attention, even from the media, from other governments, from multilateral partners. But this doesn't seem to be the case for Sudan. Yet it is the world's most dire humanitarian situation. Why do you think this is the case?
And just to be honest here, it's not just Sudan. No? We're talking about Congo. We're talking about South Sudan. We're talking about all these, countries in the global South. Like, I don't remember reading or hearing like lately about like Myanmar or there's a lot of places. So, and it's clearly these crises are humanitarian. They affect humanity at large, but the decision to cover them, elevate them, or end them is always political. So I think the problem is there is shy attempts or maybe lack of political will to end these sufferings.
What would you say needs to be done for Sudan today?
I'll start with that. I think the world needs to kind of wake up and come together to end this, because the suffering, yes, it's in Sudan, but the more it continues, it affects all of us. It affects the region, it affects Europe, it affects the world at large. We need to put all the gears towards ending this suffering, whether it's humanitarian, whether it's political or diplomatic pressure. It needs to stop. It needs to stop yesterday, so that there are some people who are still suffering and remaining, and the numbers are just getting huge every day. We need to advocate more for the protection of civilians, the protection of aid workers in general at large, and the protection of the emergency response volunteers who are putting their life at risk, taking a responsibility for the country, and these are really young people who have nothing but hope that one day this country will have some peace, and one day we will actually live like the rest of the countries. I mean, somebody was talking to me in London, like a joke, then they said, "Oh, we are the sons of wars." I was like, that was actually on the original national anthem of Sudan. We are the sons of wars. That needs to stop. I mean, until when we are the sons of war? War needs to stop, and I think it takes every body together to do it. It's not one person's job, one person's responsibility, but I think collectively we can put pressure to actually end it and kind of lift the suffering of the Sudanese people.
Thank you, Alsanosi Adam from the Emergency Response Wings, the Right Livelihood Award winner. We wish peace for the people of Sudan, and congratulations once again.